Just confirming. Let me just make sure I'm good here. Bow, bow, wow, yippee yo, yippee yay. Where my dogs at? Okay. How y'all feeling? Feeling good? I got a lot of heat. Not heat, but the previous stream. Seems like some people were getting upset for whatever reason. Or maybe I just miscalculated what was going on there, but a lot of people had a lot to say. I promise you, whatever happens in the housing market happens. Um, from my understanding, I'm good, and I'm just trying to help y'all out. Today's stream is gonna be pretty chill. I'm just trying to get comfortable here. If y'all tapping in right now, this is the place where we talk about real estate. Let me make sure. Yeah, we back. Let me see if everything's working.
Another one.
Oh, there we go. Why didn't my? There we go. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, imagine just getting like a round of applause just like that. But all right, let me stop chit chatting and just I got everything set up on my end. If you guys do have any questions, of course, you guys feel free to drop it in the chat as we go through today's stream in itself. But we're going to be talking about the new problem that I think has always been a problem in real estate, has always been a problem in the housing market, but I think it's getting worse and worse as things go on. And I honestly, I was not ready for this problem, I will say. And not even I was ready, but I just didn't expect it. And when I saw the headline, I was just like, oh, this definitely changes everything. It even changes from what I said in the previous stream, right? Where I was talking about Redfin's predictions and 2026 being, it could be a good year, or at least it could be in my opinion, the last affordable year. Many people don't agree for whatever reason, but I mean, hey, prices are where they're at right now. It's either you're gonna afford it now or you're gonna find a way to afford it later. Either way, it is what it is. But yes, so the one issue that I will say, and this is kind of the problems that I saw, or at least that I read through this past week, and I want to bring to your attention. So, right now, and this is terrible for buyers, and I'll explain everything why, but sellers are giving up. And when I say sellers are giving up, I mean they're delisting their homes. So, because these sellers have so much equity, and they're probably not pressed to sell a home. They probably just want to sell a home to be able to do whatever. Like, it's not a real motivation, I would say. They're able to put their home on the market and they're like, all right, well, let's see what we can get. All right, it's one of those, just test things out, see what you can get. And then from there, they make another decision. Maybe from what I'm reading, it's like 60 days to 100 days later, they're making a decision whether to keep it on the market or just take it off. We'll go through all of this in detail, but sellers taking their homes off the market does not help whatsoever. I know probably a lot of people are probably laughing like, yeah, that's what sellers get. Ha ha ha. But I promise you, that is not what you want as a buyer, especially if you want prices to come down. So all of that is going to lead to essentially a tighter supply. Tighter supplies mean less options for you as a buyer and higher prices. That's why I say it's not good. And this could all be a cause of because of the amount of equity someone has in a home, or it could be because of the mortgage rate that they have. I'm sure we all know someone that has a really good mortgage rate, and they're like, "I'm never selling my home." Yada 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 yada. One of those things. So yeah, they sitting on a bag of money, quite literally. You see, you feel me? But that's what we're gonna really discuss today. The new problem that we have discovered, and I really do hope that y'all tap in and really kind of go back and forth with me, or even leave comments on this, because this is a problem that I was not kind of seeing in the future. Um, I also wasn't really thinking about, okay, well, sellers can just take their homes off the market, because again, not every seller is going to be motivated. Like, not every seller has to move because of a job. Not every seller has to move because of their parents, right? Not every seller has to move because, what's another reason that I've commonly come across? It's generally family or work, and that's the big two motivating factors that I've been seeing recently. And not so much of, yes, people have been moving because of affordability aspect, but those aspects are more buyers. They're not sellers that are being motivated by that. But like I said, we're talking about detail in each and every single one of them. If you are just tapping in right now, we're talking about the housing market and the different problems that did arise, which sellers are giving up right now. Essentially, that's the big issue. But if you missed last week's stream, I would highly recommend go tap in and go watch that, because I go over a lot of the predictions that Redfin decided to give us and share with us. And, we kind of critiqued it. We went through each and I gave my own perspective or my own opinion on it. So look at that if you're at least in the market, at least, right? Not even if you're in the market right now to purchase a home or buy or sell. But even if you're thinking about buying or selling in the next 6 to 12 months, that right there will help you understand a little bit about what to expect and how you should have your expectations or your guidelines set, so that you can have a good experience, because it's going to be an interesting year. But let me know where you guys are all tapping in from in the chat. That way, if you guys, I say this all the time, if you guys give me where you're looking, you don't even got to tell me where you're at. Maybe you just want to throw a random market out. Go ahead, knock yourself out. If you just give me the locations, the area, I can do a deep dive on that area for you specifically. Maybe you know someone that's trying to move in. You just need to tap them on the shoulder to get them into this room so that they can get a little bit more assistance. But you let me know where you're tapping in from, and that way I can go ahead and give you a little bit more information on that market and make your time useful here. Because again, I'm here to help you navigate this housing market, as difficult as it may be. I don't think it's that difficult. It's just you have to get creative. And I think that's the piece that I could understand why it's difficult, because again, you got to think outside the box. And if you don't know what you're doing, you don't even know what your first step is to purchase a home, then of course, how the heck are you going to think outside the box? I'm just being honest. And if you are considering or even thinking about buying in the next, let's say, 12 months, just type 12 in the chat. I'm just curious to see who we have in this room to understand better how is it that I can assist you. And if y'all being shy, then y'all just gonna be shy. I'm just gonna continue. I'll tell you that right now. Alrighty. So here's a question that I did come across that I do want to share with you guys. Hopefully you guys can see that perfectly fine and it doesn't give you any issues. So, I didn't actually want to show you this one, but I mean, I didn't want to show you this specific, but whatever, it doesn't matter. So, do you think this person made a mistake? Because obviously they're asking for opinions and they're trying to figure out if they made a mistake or not. So, I'm curious to see what you guys think. I think this is like literally what a lot of people go through. And it puts them in a position where they start regretting their home because of, I guess, different scenarios they put themselves in. But essentially, this person here, they bought a home, right, for about 200 grand, two beds, two bath. They got a 5.7 mortgage rate, which, that's not too terrible, right? That's probably better than what a lot of people are getting right now. Right? Sounds like a fixer upper just because it mentions she mentions they're fixing it up, and it's an older home. So they're doing all the removing the popcorn, painting, flooring, then countertops, which some of these things can be like a personal preference, in my personal opinion. Like countertops, it all depends on how bad that really countertop is. I think you could have kept that in. Popcorn ceilings, you could have probably kept that in as well. Also, what is your plan long term? Are you gonna live in it, or are you trying to flip it for you to go ahead and rent it out? Because a lot of people have popcorn ceilings nowadays. It may not be in fashion, but if you're living in it, who cares? And then the AC and the heater is not efficient. Well, and that's a big problem. I mean, I really hope that when you were purchasing that home, you've identified that before then and got some sort of concessions for that. Because the fact that it's on that person, that's pretty terrible. But anyways, moving on, right? So and he or she mentions, I don't know who this person is, right? They could have bought a new home, but that would have definitely changed their closing costs, right? So it really comes down to which is more important to you at that point in time. But I'm curious to know. I mean, we don't really have anybody that's willing to talk right now for whatever reason. Y'all acting real scary today. Ooh. But yes, I'm curious for those individuals that are tapping in right now. What do you think? Do you think this person made a mistake, or is this a good scenario for you? I'm gonna give my 2 cents here shortly. Just gonna let y'all ponder on it for a little bit. Cause would it be fun if I just gave you all the answers, or at least you got my opinion first without really thinking? And that's the beautiful part, right? I let you guys ponder on it. I really let you guys think, so that you can tell me what you're thinking, and I can see where you guys are at. Because if you guys are able to purchase real estate without my guidance, I'm just I'm gonna say this real quietly so people in the back don't hear me. But I don't think you're gonna need a real estate agent to help you. Ooh. Only reason why you probably may need one is because you're relocating in a whole nother state. Alrighty. I gave y'all time. Nobody wants to go ahead and give me their 2 cents. So this person didn't make, in my personal opinion, didn't make a mistake. I think it's great when you're able to put a little bit of sweat and equity into a home. I think that's honestly the best way to go about purchasing real estate is putting a little bit of sweat and equity into it, because the price point that you're buying at is not at the top of the top, right? Most people, what they're going to do, they're going to buy up here and then somehow, some way, find a way to sell down here. Right. If you can prevent yourself from buying up here and selling down here, you'll be protecting yourself, especially in the market that we're entering, or at least that we're in. Housing prices can do anything to, like, literally in any given time, because this is like it's like on edge. There's like so many different rocks being thrown in the housing market right now. It's just a matter of time before something decides to break something, right? And if something doesn't break now, it's gonna happen later in our lifetimes. But I don't think he made a. You're saving yourself essentially. Just looking at this from the perspective of a new construction home was gonna cost him 218,000, in comparison to the home that he purchased, was just about 200,000. Right, you save 18 grand. Put that 18 grand into fixing the home entirely, and that way, maybe after you've put all that 18 grand into it, you can go ahead and sell it for a profit if that's your plan. Sure, you have a lower mortgage rate with the new construction, but I mean, what's a 1.25% going to 1.75, honestly, or 1.5? Sorry, of a percent is going to really do in terms of making that difference in terms of payment, right? It's not going to really make, if you really go do the math, 200,000 and 218,000 isn't that big of a difference, and let alone, right, the mortgage rate in itself. So I don't think so, but and you can even see them. I mean, he or she, I keep saying he, I don't know who this person is, so my apologies, but right. Thanks for the words of encouragement. I think I'm overwhelmed with all the repairs I'm doing and still need to get done. I'm sure once they are all done, and I'm moved in, it will all be worth it. And it sounds like a lot of people in the comments were saying, "Hey, man, you're fine. You're good." You're probably just overthinking it, right? And I mean, he said it best. He or she said it best when they said they're overwhelmed. So I think this is pretty cool to kind of go through these questions like this, right? Because I think a lot of people are nowadays are going to be like, did I make a mistake purchasing this home and not realizing what other options there were really out there? But if you are, my bad. There we go. But if you're considering purchasing or need help, right, navigating certain situations, right, there is a link in the description below. Click it. Be sure to complete the entire buyer intake form. That way I can get in touch with you and we can either, if you're not looking in North Carolina, I got you covered. But outside North Carolina, I will have to refer you to one of our trusted partners that will take care of you. So it's important to complete the entire form. That way I can get in touch with you and we can see how exactly we need to help you out here. But let's go ahead and talk about these headlines because, yeah, that's the most important thing that we have to break down because it definitely does change how real estate can. And no one's really talking about this for whatever reason. So you guys get it here first. Sure, they're headlines, but the fact that sellers are giving up and they're giving up at high rates, that, like I said, it is not good at all for the housing market. Now, this data here is a month behind, if I'm not mistaken. Right, so it's talking about what happened in, I want to say, yeah, so it's talking about what happened in October, which, if we look at things, right, if we're talking about what happened in October, November and December are generally slower times in real estate, anyways. Why? It's the holidays. Who in the heck is selling during the holidays? Nobody. Everybody's hosting, if anything. So it's good that we're able to see that home delistings were occurring in October because this is gonna give us the hindsight of how that trend really continues through this year going into next year. So let's go ahead and tackle this here. So we can see home delistings in October were up 45.5% year to date, and that's up 30 and up nearly 38% from last year of October of 24. So a lot more people decided at this time, well, in October, to delist their home. Huh. And we'll get to some of the reasons as far as why some sellers are even pulling their homes off the market if you're curious. But most buyers are heading to what Realtor.com calls refuge markets, right? So the more affordable, the where prices aren't high, right? That's essentially where people are kind of gearing towards, right? The outskirts, or not so much of the hustle and bustle. It sounds like, right? So, alrighty. So I already kind of just already went over this one, so we won't discuss that. But and we just kind of went over this in terms of the markets that people are going to, which I highly encourage everyone, honestly speaking. If you're finding yourself in a situation where you're like, all right, I really want to purchase a home, it's literally your decision between rent and purchase. First things first, go find a rent versus purchase calculator and really see it. You'll be very surprised to see if rents is cheaper in your state or city comparison to purchasing. I think that's number one. Then after doing that, then I would definitely say, all right, if renting is way more expensive than owning, that's a perfect time for you to go ahead and say, all right, let me go see what markets is it that I can go ahead and look into. Oh man, or what areas I should look into to go ahead and purchase a home based off of the price point, right? A lot of people don't do that. Like I know there's a lot of different areas in Raleigh, even in Fayetteville, that many people just don't know. The only thing that they know is the big metro city, right? They hear Raleigh, they hear Fayetteville, they hear what Chapel Hill, right? But there's a lot of different cities around it, right? I'll just name one, Pittsburgh, right? That's Zebulon, All right, Wendell. Right, these are all that's like they're not mainstream, so it's difficult for individuals to understand what areas to really look at if all you're focusing is the main city, which is why, just asking a simple question like, hey, what other areas should I be looking at can get you very, very far. So go ahead and do that for yourself, please, because you'll be very surprised as far as what you can find. Right, so some of those cities that saw the most price growth over the past 5 years are now seeing the largest share of frustrated sellers. So those sellers that got in during 2020 is like, yep, I'm about to chill in here. I got my low rate. I'm good. Are getting hit the hardest, right? So Miami, Denver, Houston, those are the three areas that saw the highest ratio of homes delisted compared to newly listed. Hmm, that's interesting. I could understand Florida because Florida has been getting hurt all year, honestly. Houston is interesting. Denver, I don't really have too much to say on that one. I say Houston's interesting because I feel like Houston has a lot of pros to why people even move to Texas to begin with. And I don't think Houston is slowing down in terms of growth. So that's an interesting one. That's an interesting one. But I guess if it went crazy in 2020 or went crazy during that time, then it makes sense, right? What goes up must goes down, or at least has to slow down. Give me 1 second. There we go. So some of those areas that people are looking at outside of the outskirts is what I'm gonna call it for now, right? So from somewhere in Michigan, they're up 5.5 year over year. St. Louis is up 5%. Cleveland, Milwaukee, and Pittsburgh. And what are those three? They're just the top performing markets. Okay. Prices in these markets are still 20 to 30% lower than the national median. Which what is the national median right now? Right, I should know this off the top of my head. Let's go to reference. I'm gonna assume 435. Ooh, I was close. So close. Come on now. I didn't cheat. I promise you. It's just I see this stuff all the time. It's like second nature at this point. Some people probably like, man, this guy's joking. This guy's a joke. But yes, that's not all of it. There's a wait. I'm missing something. No. Where is it at? All right. I think it's over here then. I'm trying to find where did I have the different reasons as far as why sellers are removing their homes off the market. But for whatever reason, I don't see it. Did I skip over it? My bad. I'll find it. No worries here. In the meantime, let me know if you guys do have any questions, any thoughts about this, about how home sellers are giving up, and how do you feel about that? Are you excited? Does it make you nervous? Come on, man. This is getting very. Hey, I guess I don't know where I put it. Anywho, all right, we'll just continue and move on. Oh, that sucks. My bad, y'all. My bad. However, I'll do this for you since I messed up on that part. That way. This is referring to, so this is a little bit different when it comes to delistings. This is what, of course, people are canceling, which hand in hand, can kind of go hand in hand with the delistings, because if they're canceling it, that's one of the things that article didn't really discuss, right? Whether it's expiring or are there people actually canceling, talking about removing it off the market. Like those are two different things. But here, we'll just go under the assumption that people are either allowing their homes to expire, which means, they no longer with their home on the market and they don't have any plans of relisting right now, or they're intentionally saying, take my home off the market because I don't want it to be listed anymore. So here is the trend that you guys can kind of see. And you can kind of see we've been sitting in this little area for quite some time. And just recently, right, as of March of 2025, things have been going up. So we'll see if it hit the top of this, like what it did in October 23 and October 20, October 22. So it's interesting, right? It constantly increases and leads all the way up to October, the peak, and then it decreases, right? But that decreasing is interesting in itself. Certain areas that have had pending sales that fell out of contract, right? You guys can kind of see. So they're really doing it based off of pending sales. So whatever home sales were already on the contract, they're looking at it like how many of those contracts didn't go through entirely. So here we can see, my bad, I'll zoom in. You can see based off of the market that you're trying to purchase in or look at, then you can see what that looks like for you. And this is good. This is good, but it depends on the person, right? If you're canceling your contract, that means you found something bad in the house, or your financing didn't go through. Those are really the two big reasons. Or your plans just entirely changed. So, like, maybe you were relocating for a job, and they told you, yeah, don't come anymore. That is crazy work if that ever has happened to anybody. But there's that market. And then we can look at a few other ones. Well, those markets really. Oh, Raleigh didn't end up on this list, huh? Because canceled contracts ain't happening over here. Let me stop. They're happening everywhere. Here's the national, right? Average 15.1 already. What areas led in cancellations? What if you weren't able to tell? San Antonio, Texas, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, Fort Worth, Texas, Vegas, Jacksonville, Florida. Those are the 5 top places. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, that had the most home purchase cancellations. Womp womp womp. So like I said, right, this I'm not gonna really share anything in terms of this article in itself, but it's definitely worth the read because again, like I mentioned, as everything in terms of supply starts to tighten up, you're gonna have another right. A lot of people are saying the lock-in effect is no longer there, but it seems like it's still there. It's just not as serious because some people are just over it. Like I heard a guy recently. He was like, I was listening to a podcast and this guy was like, yeah, he had a really low rate because he refinanced or either refinanced or purchased when the rates were low. And he was like, yeah, I got rid of, let's just say it was a 4% mortgage rate. He's like, yeah, I got rid of my 4% mortgage rate and went to a 7 or it was something. I was just like, ooh. But he said he had to, right? He had a growing family. And he knew for a fact that I got to get out of this house because this is not going to fulfill, the family that he was creating at that point in time. So people are still locked in, but are they locked in to the same effect? I don't think so. I think everybody at some point is gonna cave in because life is gonna happen, as it always does. And then I didn't even show you this. Is this where it is? No, it's not. All right, cool. No questions. I'm gonna go ahead and move over to the next thing that I want to discuss. You guys should already understand how does this all affect you as a buyer. If you don't understand how this affects you, there's one or two things you can do. You can ask a question or you can rewind. The DVR should be on. If not, then maybe you have to wait for this to be all over. But should be on to the point where you can go ahead and go backwards to see how does this all really affect you. And if anything, it really just means inventory is just gonna be tighter, less options for you, which means prices can go up because there's less options, which I don't think anybody is going to be happy about. Quite literally anybody. Everybody's trying to force prices to come down, but sellers right now they toying with everybody, to be honest. Anywho, not every market is gonna be a good market, so here are some markets that you should keep your eyes on for 2026. Charleston, South Carolina. I'll zoom in so you can see that. All right, so these are the markets where maybe those, those refuge, I think it's called refuge markets that we just talked about, which I just really said the outskirts. Those will be the hotspots, essentially. And this is from NAR, so this is not something that I just created out of nowhere. This is what NAR provided in terms of data wise. NAR being National Association of Realtors, so yeah, we can kind of take a look here as well. And if you're not looking in these markets, then it doesn't mean it's like the end of the world. It just means you're not in a hot spot, which means you could probably get a you could probably get a better deal. Maybe, just maybe. And here's another one, right? So, why did that? So, Steph Baker said, "Do you recommend buying at this point?" Whew. Great question. It's really gonna depend on what is it that you need done, or what is it that you're trying to get done, right? I like to look at it based off of life scenarios, right? If you don't necessarily need to move, then don't move. Right? I'm not the type of person to go ahead and sit here and tell you, yeah, you must move, you must move. No, no, you do what you got to do for you, right? That's what's gonna essentially work. But the best thing that I recommend everybody doing in that situation is like, hey, is it even worth buying? Really look at what are the rents going for in your area, and then compare that to how much is it going to cost you to go ahead and purchase. If you want a nice little trick, just do rent versus no, just do Redfin. I'm trying to figure out right now. Hold on. Redfin cost of living calculator. There it goes. So if you really want to see if it makes sense to purchase or rent, just do this, right? Go to Redfin's cost of living calculator and just kind of get a sense here. This is probably by far the quickest and the best way to do this. Of course, you can go ahead and get a little bit more, specific and get a little bit more detailed. But I like using this just because I know Redfin has the data because they have agents operating the market. They're a real estate company. So they're going to have the information in terms of houses. Now, apartments, that's kind of a big question mark because they don't really deal with too much of the rentals. But looking at this is, I would say, the very first thing you should do. And if it's cheaper to rent, then just continue to rent, especially if you don't have to move, because the people that are moving right now are the ones that have to move. It's not anybody with like that's speculating. Uh, Great idea with the Redfin. Yeah, no, it's Jay Hart's. It's by far one of the best things to do. Right. At the end of the day, if the dollar amounts ain't where you want it to be, then you have to. Where Southwest Florida? You gotta give me a specific You ain't got to give me the one that you're looking at, but maybe at least give me something close by. um, and I'll go ahead and see if they have that there for you. But yes, really looking at rentals, because again, it's everything's gonna come down to affordability at the end of the day, right? So if we're looking at things from a affordability aspect, see what the rents are. If it's cheaper, then you can go ahead and just go that route until opportunity arises. So, you're looking at Cape Coral or for Fort Myers. So this actually, I love this market right now for you to purchase in, and I think it all really depends. And the only reason why I love Cape Coral is because they're going through the worst, probably. They're probably no, they are the worst real estate city area, I can say, market right now. So, and that's a good thing, right? I mean, you could see it here. It's costs more to rent than to purchase over there. So you take that with that information as you please. But I will say Fort Myers. I know Cape Coral. I don't know so much about Fort Myers. I didn't really see too much on them, but I'm assuming they're really close by. So the opportunity could still be there. Where that market I know specifically is getting punished. And when I say punished, I'm just talking about their prices. A lot of people are selling, but just take your time. You know, you're trying to relocate to Wake Forest next year. How you go from Fort Myers to Wake Forest? Those are two different places. How that happen? I hope that was a type error, a typo. But yeah, anything's possible as long as you put your mind to it. To be honest, this market it can be difficult if you make it difficult, but the opportunities are out there. The opportunities are out there. I will say, if you're really looking at Fort Myers, though, this is for anybody listening in Florida. Be cautious about the insurances. The insurance companies that are out there. They ain't really favorable for those for those homeowners. I will say, the people, everyone that's in Florida, you have to really, really consider the insurance aspect. So, in your case, Seth, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. You're in Fort Myers right now. You're trying to move out of here. Yeah, I feel you. But yes, for anybody that's in Florida right now, if you're trying to purchase, or if you know anybody that's trying to purchase, just tell them go see what their insurance is going to be before they go ahead and finalize the home purchase, because mm 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 mm, Florida is not the one. The way these insurance companies is doing it, yeah, Wake Forest is not going to pop up here. But I think I already showed you with Raleigh, so you can go ahead and utilize this. And if you need help relocating here, whether they're renting or you're trying to purchase, just there's a link in the description it should be next to the agent referral. Fill that out so that we can get in touch, and I could see how is it that we could best help you, or even create a game plan in getting you to Wake Forest whenever it is that you're trying to get here. But I did talk about the insurances, right? And actually, that's one of the biggest things that I want to just forewarn everybody about, because it's the insurances is really going to be a bottleneck for every high cost area, just about, right? We're talking about Miami, well, anybody, anywhere in Florida, California. What's another one? I mean, I was really say there's just those two that have high insurance rates right now. In fact, specifically, I have this list here, right? It's Miami, Florida, Lauderdale, West Palm, all Florida essentially. San Francisco, right? These are all areas that are at high risk for insurances, right? Houston, Texas, interesting. Los Angeles, California, Riverside, California, New Orleans, Louisiana. This is not even an interesting one, because I actually just saw a video. I wish I was able to pull it up. I saw a video of it was on, I want to say Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. And someone walked into their backyard and they had literally a puddle. I mean, I don't know why people still live in Louisiana. I respect it very entirely, but like that's a place you visit. That's not a place you live. I mean, when you're below sea level, that is a tough place to be. I mean, it's just floods waiting to happen. I mean, everybody experienced that already back in Katrina days. So those insurance companies are making note of that. And these insurance companies, as we all know, they don't want to pay out anything. But other places on this list is Dallas, Texas, San Jose, California. We have Tampa as well, and Baton Rouge, Louisiana as well. I'm curious for anybody that's still in the chat right now. Like, do you guys know anybody that is having insurance problems? Just let me know. And if you do know, how bad is it? Because I know this was a big thing in what, like 22, 23. I don't know if it's still really a thing that everybody's experiencing. So that's why I'd like to just kind of forewarn everybody before you go ahead and purchase. Like, go get a quote. Go see at least what the insurance company may quote you even before you go on a contract. Because once you go on a contract, I think you should be going towards closing on it, not just twiddling your fingers at that point. But let's see. All right. So another thing. So if you haven't heard about the 50-year mortgage, yeah, for whatever reason they think that's a good idea. Um, it could be though. I think it all really depends on how you utilize it. Like, I know if I had the opportunity to go ahead and use a 50-year mortgage, I'll do it. Because most people don't stay in their homes for 50 years anyways. Like, most people honestly stay in their homes for, I think it's like 10 to 12 years, and then they're off to the next home. So, Jay Hart's, which actually, I know you, brother. How you doing, man? Good to see you. Good to actually hear from you. Not even see you because obviously I can't see you, but especially here in North Carolina with the DD on the line, yeah, absolutely. And what he's referring to due diligence, it's if you don't do your due diligence before going on a contract, that's money that you're essentially just giving to the seller, right? So yeah, not good point. There's not a lot of due diligence fees in every state. North Carolina is just one of them. I love explaining due diligence to people I'm working with because they all look at me like I'm like I got four different faces. Like, wait, what are you talking about right now? So it's North Carolina has a different way of doing business, and when it comes to real estate, right? You are going to, in order for you to get a home off the market that you want to go ahead and do your inspections, you got to give the seller something, and that's their due diligence fees. Unfortunately, that's just what it is here. That is just what it is. But yes, though, going back to the 50-year mortgage, if you haven't heard, that is a thing. It's a proposal. It's not really in effect just quite yet. Can I see it getting to that point? Yeah. Uh, is it really gonna help? It all really depends on how you're gonna utilize it. It's gonna make the payments a little bit cheaper, but it's not gonna be anything astronomical, right? A couple $100. That's really what you're saving, which I think that helps, but I don't know if that's gonna really do the job to get everybody in a place where they want to be. If you feel me. And since there's four people in here right now, so I actually want to share with you something. I'll wait towards the end. And this right here is my baby when I really want to find deals in the market. So Justin, you got something special. Just don't reveal this one. Just not this one. You know, I like to keep this one hidden. Uh, but if you guys have any questions, let me know right now while I go ahead and set this all up. Do 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 do. Yeah, for sure. We got to. But everybody that's here, I'll make sure to give you the gems because you guys take your time and you are graceful enough to give me your time and attention, which I don't take lightly at all. Which is why I don't even I make sure to give you some sort of information that could really help you in your real estate search, your process, your journey, your experience, whatever the case may be. Because I think it's important that in this market that we're in today, where housing is a little difficult to get into, you got to find creative ways to get into it. And if you don't know what the heck you're doing from step one, then how are you going to get creative, right? How are you going to know exactly what to do and what not to do? And so, I definitely appreciate you guys all for tapping in with me and staying here to this point. I mean, y'all been kicking it with me for 40 minutes already, huh? In the meantime, though, so I thought this was actually funny to. This isn't what I was going to share, but I'll share it here in a little bit. This person here saying, I'm officially done with starter homes. It's not an investment to bail out for previous generations' neglect. I mean, clearly this person's mad for whatever reason, which maybe you do have a valid point. But I think starter homes is the best way to get into a home right now. I mean, if you're not getting into a starter home, then what's below that? I'm just curious. Right. And it just sounds like this person just probably had a bad experience. Sure, I think, and this is where, again, going back to due diligence is really important. Making sure you do the proper due diligence so that you don't end up in a situation where you're having to make all the repairs that the previous homeowner didn't do. All right, a simple inspection can help you with that as well, honestly. But why do y'all think from a scale of 0 to 10, how mad you think this guy is? Oh my goodness. I read this and I was just like, oh my gosh. My man needs to relax. Like, if you're getting a home with a 25-year-old roof and HVAC from the Bush administration and plumbing that is actively trying to fail, why would you buy it? Just why? If you know what the issues are, why are you buying it? And sometimes you can find out what the age of a roof is before you even make an offer. Some of the stuff is not hidden, right? It's literally out there right in the open. I mean, sometimes if you even go to a property in itself, like, you can look at the roof and see, like, all right, where did they make repairs? My bad. You can even see, like, where did they even make repairs on the roof in itself. I mean, it's really easy. Just take a look at the shingles. Whatever shingles is brighter than the rest, either they made a lot of repairs or that's just not where water drains, or water just flows through it. But yeah, I laughed at this one. If you see this one, please still try to get yourself into a starter home because I think it is a great investment. Maybe just do a little bit better due diligence, especially if you're purchasing it from a previous owner. Just make sure you don't pick up problems like a 25-year-old roof, an old HVAC, and then plumbing that's actively trying to fail, which I don't know how you would know that, but unless if you did inspection and they saw leaks going on in between the walls, which is actually possible, right? If you have your inspector, just do a, oh my gosh, it's like they have a radar gun that they go ahead and point at the wall. I don't remember the name of the exact service, but if you have your inspector, just do that. They can actually tell you if there's leaks going on in between the walls and the ceilings, where the water's coming from. So you can do a lot. It's just a matter of what do you know to disclose or what do you know to go ahead and get the person to do. Because if you don't say it, it's not all the time that they're going to go ahead and do it. But here is what I was talking about. Parcel Labs. Parcel Labs, I believe that's the perfect way to pronounce it. I love this website. And the only reason why I love it is because here, they'll give you what's a good deal every day. Every day. And I don't pay for this. I'm pretty sure you can. And you could probably get additional information. But I don't pay for this. All right. So whenever an investor is like, "Hey, Ronnie, I need a deal," I'm constantly on this, looking for deals as well. Of course, I have other ways of doing so, but this is one of the easiest ways to do so. But the only thing I would say is they're only paying attention to price point. That's right. So at least just based off of what I found, they've only paid attention to how many price cuts have occurred, and so that may not always be a good deal in a sense because they could have overpriced it, right? And because you overpriced the home doesn't make it, and just because you overpriced the home and now you're making a bunch of cuts doesn't mean it's a good price or a deal. But also this here, I think a couple months ago it was at the stubborn parts, but now to see it at the motivated, it's pretty cool to see like, all right, well, Raleigh's getting in a little bit of trouble here, and it's crazy because I think earlier in the stream, right, we said Raleigh's gonna be a top spot for 2026. I mean, mic drop, man. I don't even have a mic drop on here. Do I? No, I don't. Let's see. Is this it? Let me see. If it's it. No. Yeah, but bookmark. Yeah, keep that one in the tuck, man. You gonna enjoy that one. That wasn't it, man. You're gonna enjoy that one for sure. Trust and believe. Make sure you put the market as Raleigh. So you just go to my markets, just add it here. You can add a bunch of the different markets here. I'm done sharing that because if you got it, you got it. If you didn't, you didn't. I left it up there for long enough for you to get share information, but I like this resource a lot just because again it gives me insight on what's going on in the market and some insights that some people just don't have. But if y'all don't have any other questions, I'm about to skedaddle. Again, if you're just tapping in right now, you missed a lot. You missed the main piece of this conversation today, which is the housing market going through an issue, which it's really based off of sellers just taking their home off the market rather than willing to cut their prices. So if a seller is willing to just take their home rather than take a loss, that does hurt you as a buyer because again, now you can't one, you don't have that opportunity no more. But also it reduces the inventory. And if it reduces the inventory, what's gonna happen? You're going to have a lot less inventory, which I just said, but you're gonna have prices go up as a result. That's just what happens. Right? The more and more supply there's the less and less supply there is, the more prices have the opportunity to go up. So that's what we really discussed today. We even went over some of the details of I couldn't find why they were selling. I'll try to find it again. But we also went over what what top markets are, and of course the insurance issues that's going on. So make sure you guys are getting if you're trying to purchase within the next couple of months. If you find a home that's like decent, just hey, hit your insurance company up and like, hey, if I were to purchase X home, right, whatever details they need, let them know and let's see what that quote is gonna look like. Is it a quote that you can still afford? That's the better question. I can't believe I can't find that right now, man. Mm-mm-mm. Here we go. Thank you. I found it. All right. So here's some of the reasons why they're taking their home off the market. Right. So stale listings. Of course, if homes weren't as if their home isn't selling, they're taking it off the market. So they're only really giving it 100 days too. All right. So about 3 months before they're like, all right, I'm out of here, which is crazy because That's not a really long time, but again, a lot of people can be used to, or at least accustomed to, what we all experienced in 2020. So they think that's the same market. But 3 months, right? So that's not good. But slow demand, which of course most buyers are sidelined right now because everybody's waiting to see what in the heck is going to happen before everybody wants to make a move. But as I just also mentioned, right, another reason why they're pulling off is because they don't want to take a loss. They would much rather wait than to take a loss, right? And that wait can mean they're waiting and being a lot more, maybe, right? Because somebody's selling for a reason. They're not just selling just because, right? So there could be a lot more pain going on by holding on to it, but they'll much rather go through their own personal pain than to take a loss on money, which I guess is fair. Roughly 15% of those homes that were delisted in September, just September alone, were at risk of selling at a loss. Right? And that's the highest in 5 years. So you can't tell me that there ain't homes out there that you can go ahead and get. Yeah, I'm not gonna even say what exactly what to say, but so the option to become a landlord. I didn't think about that one, but that's another good point, right? If no one wants to buy it, then I'll just go ahead and rent it out. As I just showed you guys a little earlier, the Redfin's cost of living calculator. In certain areas, it may be more expensive for you to rent than to go ahead and buy. So if most people aren't buying, then hey, I'll just go ahead and rent it, rent the crib out. And once I rent the crib out, then when prices go stupid again, because they eventually gonna do it, all right? When prices go stupid again, then I'll go ahead and sell it. Oh my goodness, do you guys see what's going up? Are you guys picking up what I'm putting down? Please, please let me know because man, this is exactly what happens. And then, of course, more total listings overall is going to play a factor in terms of that stale listing aspect as far as why individuals will pull their home off the market. So, if you're sidelined, I think I said this in one of my videos. I don't think I said this on a live stream. If you're sidelined considering purchasing a home, you can wait, but I wouldn't suggest waiting forever, especially if you actually found a home that you really like. Don't sit on the sideline just to twiddle your fingers and be like, I'll wait for a better opportunity. Go make your offer and make it to the terms that you like, you know. And if they don't accept it, they don't accept it. Hey, you put your shot in. Investors do that all the time, right? So here's what the chart looked like. If you're a visual learner, you can see how effective is it. How effective that pulling homes off the market is at the highest rate in comparison to since 2016. Mm-mm-mm. And 1 in 5 homes that are delisted are relisted. So it's not even a lot in comparison, right? So which means most of them are probably going towards, just staying into the home or they're making it a rental. People who purchased their home recently are most likely to pull off the market. So anybody who purchased within what, 2 to 5 years, they're taking it off the market. And then 0 to 2 years, they're taking it off the market. So mainly the 2 to 5 years, whoever has owned a home for 2 to 5 years, which they're trying to cash out. That's literally what it is. Because anybody that's 0 to 2 years, you barely have equity in it, especially if you bought in 23. Because in 23, 22 was like the peak, and it went down all the way down to 23, which is like your bottom. So a visual of just the years of the when the home was last purchased in comparison to how many of the sellers are delisting. And that is it. That's all she wrote for this one. I'm glad I found it because that really shared with you, how problemsome this could be for the market entirely, right? And we're approaching, number of U.S. homes that were listed for sale subsequently delisted, and this is just for September. what we talked about a little bit earlier, that was for October. So this is a little bit more of updated information based off of what Redfin is at least sharing with us. So I think this is something to really, kind of see how it operates. And I will say, looking at, we're already in December, so it's that number may not go up as much. It may actually just kind of be stagnant in that range for quite some time. I would say, come January, more like February, March, that will be the real test to see, because that's when everybody wants to go shopping again. So we will see. But if no other questions come in, then I'm going to skedaddle for the night. I'll be here next week. I know I was thinking about it. I was like, man, I don't know if I should do it next week because that's Christmas Eve. Everybody probably gonna be in their own, or maybe everybody gonna have me in their living room. That'd be crazy. That'd be actually crazy if everybody has me in their living room as they're, just kind of winding down and chilling with one another, getting game about real estate. That'd actually be really dope to see that one day. One day, it'll happen. But if no other questions, y'all have a blessed rest of your night. Every Wednesday from at least until further notice, you can tap in here with me to learn about the housing market, to know exactly what it is that you should go ahead and take advantage of. If you do have any questions, or you're looking to purchase within the next couple of months, next year, go ahead. That link in the description next to agent referral. Go ahead and fill out that form entirely. I can help you here in North Carolina. But of course, if you're looking outside North Carolina, I would have to refer you out to one of our trusted partners that we can go ahead and take care of you there. But we got you covered one way or another. You either getting the game from me and doing it yourself, or you're getting the game from me to go ahead and get connected to somebody that I know gonna get the game to you. But with all that, I'm out of here. Y'all good night. Peace out. Be safe. Good stuff, man. This is from J Hart's. Good stuff, man. We'll definitely look back in the future. We'll lock back in the future. For real, for real. It's good to have you back, man. Hope all is well. Happy holidays. I'll say it again next week, I'm sure, if I'm here. But if I'm not here, happy holidays early in advance. Stay safe. Do all that good stuff. Don't go ballistic out there doing all that Christmas shopping. Peace out though.